Welcome to the InfoWars Nightly News. It's Friday, December 6, 2013. I'm Gigi Arnetta, and here's what tops our news tonight.
Tonight on the InfoWars Nightly News, China is making big moves towards a world offensive. Plus, Army Colonel vows to pry guns from our cold, dead hands. Then, Fukushima hysteria in Japan leads to fascism. All that and more on the InfoWars Nightly News.
The Chinese media is bragging about building a Death Star on the moon. A report in the China Times brags that China's launch of the Long March 3B rocket earlier this week is all part of a plan to make the moon some kind of Death Star which the People's Liberation Army could launch missiles against any target on Earth. Experts in China are wargaming how the moon can be transformed into a deadly weapon. Like the Death Star in Star Wars, the moon could hypothetically be used as a military battle station, and ballistic missiles could be launched against any military target on Earth. Various weapons testing sites could be established on the moon, and noting that the launch of the Long March 3B rocket is the start of a more ambitious program. Recently, China flexed their military muscle by sending warships to the edge of Syria and also putting a surveillance ship in the Hawaiian waters. Our warships rival U.S. Navy, brags Chinese PLA. Now, shortly after the PLA's Death Star report, they started bragging about how their warships could trump our U.S. Navy warships. Amidst tensions with the U.S. over the disputed islands, the Chinese PLA is bragging that its aircraft carrier combat task force can be just as good as the U.S. Navy. The report heralds that their battleships will transform its firepower to a level, and I quote, very close to a U.S. aircraft carrier battle group in its heyday. Beijing has plans to supplement the combat force with a further 2 destroyers, an assault nuclear submarine, and 1 supply ship. Beijing has announced that it has begun mass producing and delivering its J-15 carrier-based multi-role fighter jet. Following China's announcement that it would impose an air defense zone over the region, Washington called Beijing's bluff by flying 2 unannounced B-52 bombers through the area just days later. So they've called each other's bluff, and now Biden seems to be compromising to China.
The establishment of a new air defense identification zone has, to state the obvious, caused significant apprehension in the region. And I was very direct about our firm position and our expectations in my conversations with President Xi. The United States has a profound stake in what happens here, because we need, and we are, and will remain a Pacific power, diplomatically, economically, and military. That's just a statement of fact.
Beijing announced that it expected all commercial and military aircraft flying into the zone to provide it with advanced warning about flight plans, be constantly available for contact by Chinese authorities, and maintain clear identification procedures while passing through the ADIZ. Failure to follow any of these rules, the Chinese said, will elicit defensive emergency measures. So for all the progress that the U.S. has made condemning the Chinese in this decision, Joe Biden has gone over to Asia and said, well, we should really compromise. And that really shouldn't worry you because, of course, Chinese hackers hacked into the different weapons defense systems that we have. Remember, back in May, the Chinese hacked into more than 24 major weapon systems whose designs were critical to U.S. missile defenses and combat aircraft and ships. So this should really build your confidence in Joe Biden and the U.S. All right, moving on. Mysterious China-themed city proposed in New York's Catskills. U.S. immigration officials are considering a proposal from Chinese investors to create a multi-billion-dollar development in New York's Catskills called China City, raising concerns among critics about the potential cost to U.S. taxpayers. And according to one analyst, the possibility it could be a stalking horse for the Beijing government. The mysterious proposed development appears to be a step beyond the types of ethnic enclaves scattered throughout the U.S. cities like Chinatown sections of New York City or San Francisco. The 600-acre China City of America is located far outside New York City in upstate New York's wetlands and is a meticulously planned project, calling for family housing, a college, and student residences, among other structures. In addition to needing a federal approval, it would likely need a host of state and local permits before ground could be broken. So the Chinese have already said that they want the world to consider building a de-Americanized version of the world. This right out of the Taipei Times. They say it themselves right here, a de-Americanized world needed after U.S. government shutdown. So the Chinese, They want to make sure that they can de-Americanize and also have this new world order come into existence with one financial system. And one more thing.
Somebody invested in roads and bridges. If you got a business, you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen.
Yes, Obama, the Chinese invested in that. And Joel Skousen came on the Alex Jones channel and talked about the Red Dawn scenario takeover of the U.S.
Since 1900, the Western globalists have been attempting to build the two major enemies that will attack us someday, and that is Russia and China. They brought them to power. They created them. That doesn't mean that they control them, however. They've actually created independent enemies, and there's no shortage of them around the world. And, Satan is involved in inspiring evil men to rise up. A lot of people say, why can't we have peace in the world? The reason we don't have peace is because there is systematic evil in the world that will always continue to rise up. But we are having to deal with systematic evil within our own government, what I call the dark side of government. It has built Russia and China to basically tear down the fabric of the West and other liberty countries around the world, letting the globalists come in with an alternative solution to save them from communism, but ultimately not destroying communism, reserving for them the last final attack upon America, which I think is coming in probably 8 years at the earliest, maybe 10 years, but clearly into the next decade, because Russia and China aren't ready to attack the West. The entire political theater about China wouldn't dare attack us because we're their lifeblood of commerce isn't true at all. China, in fact, intends to take over the West, run its own new world order, impose its dictates upon us, and actually own the markets, not be hostage to the Western markets, but own the markets. In order to do that, they have to take out U.S. military power. But one of the interesting things they intend to do is not attack civilian cities. And this runs counter to what has been revealed or allowed to be leaked by the official China news agency about the attack plans on America, showing attacking major cities in the east and seeing that fallout rise into the west, into the east. But really, that's for blackmail purposes, Alex. In other words, the threat of attacking city has been used for blackmail to scare them into compliance or to, there's a variety of purposes prior to war, but I happen to know that the Chinese and Russian military plans do not call for attacking civilian population centers, but only military centers, and then saying to the West, now, if you want the rest of it, then I suggest that you need to succumb to our level of control. In other words, they want to blackmail the West into submission. Well, the West knows about these plans. They know that there'll be a military decapitating strike on America someday, but they intend to deceive the Russians and Chinese, thinking we can blackmail us into submission by not submitting to that blackmail. They'll in fact pull out an entire group of secret weapons that they've been building and prosecute the war, but they won't do it in the name of the United States. They'll do it in the name of this new militarized globalist government that they'll talk us into the necessity of in terms of prosecuting this war.
Hi, I'm InfoWars reporter Leanne McAdoo, and as we age, it is inevitable that we may experience a slowdown in vitality, energy, sexual drive, and overall well-being. The reality is that in addition to the natural aging process, the experts admit that our body is continually being hit with a barrage of what's known as gender-bending chemicals, and that's just for starters. So avoiding these chemicals has always been really important to me, and that's why I was so excited to speak with Dr. Edward Group about what's really going on, specifically to find a solution to the root issue. And what I found was that as experts around the world are now revealing, core hormone levels in many men and women are dropping, but especially men. Testosterone, growth hormone, DHEA, all are being affected. Introducing InfoWars Life Super Male Vitality. Fusing herbs and other essential ingredients to help support your body's natural hormone balance. Developed by Dr. Edward Group and produced at a highly accredited natural products manufacturer, Super Male Vitality is designed to aid the body in ways that may support normal testosterone levels in men, Focus on improving your sexual vitality with the stimulation of libido and sex drive. Deliver hard-hitting benefits while completely free of GMOs, gluten, and harmful ingredients. And it's all made here in the USA and supports our operation. Single men, married men, I recommend that you get a hold of InfoWarsLife.com Super Male Vitality today, and your woman won't be disappointed.